as interface between L1 and L2. Now, language awareness is a pedagogy that acts as an interface itself. It acts as a connecting platform between the first language of the learner and the second language they are learning. It sees integral links between them, and it strongly emphasizes the positive role of the first language in the learning of the second. Now, this reminds us of the audiolingual methods. Remember, the audiolingual methods are methods in which the learners listen to the language and then they try to practice it. So, these methods are based on behaviorist approaches because you are now trying to develop the habit of learning or using the second language instead of the first one. So in audiolingual approaches, you try to insulate or try to separate the knowledge of the first language of the learner and the second language of the learner, and do not try to connect any of these. Rather, you try to obliterate or to completely disregard L1. Interestingly, language awareness has taken its inspiration from behavioral approaches. It says, yes, a behavioral approach is correct in saying that there will be some sort of transfer from the first language to the second language. And while the behavioral approaches feeding into audiolingual methods try to insulate them, stop them, put up a wall in between them, no Urdu, no other language, this language awareness actually says this leads to a lot of help for the learning of the second language. So it emphasizes an opposite effect of the transfer of the first language in the second. It says this triggers a comparative dialogue. It gives us a platform now to talk about language, second language, and to raise consciousness about how things work in second language. Then attention can be drawn during these discussions about the structural similarities between the two languages, to the mutually held meanings, to the different meanings that they have, and what is the mismatch, what is the match between the two languages. So it only facilitates the learning process. Now James actually draws attention to something what he calls contrastive salience. So he believes that in L1 and L2, we can use L1 and in the learning of L2 by contrastive salience. By contrastive salience, he means that highlighting the points where, or highlighting the aspects then that can be contrasted in both languages. What are the things that are different? So not just compare, but bring out the contrast. And so to address the transfer of the L1 language more positively. So you try to control the negative transfer of the first language and you highlight, because if this transfer is going to come, we better address it. So in any case, the first language in the second language learning is seen very helpful in language awareness. It is argued that the first language is applied in any case by the learners, and if we talk about it explicitly in the classrooms, it brings us to the forefront of the problem. We are able to address the problems of transfer. Not only that, we are able to use the complex knowledge of the language that the learners have, that is their first language, to apply to the complexity of learning the second language. Remember knowing Urdu? For instance, let me give you an example of driving a car. Driving a car just does not mean knowing how to move the automobile. It means how to observe and interpret the traffic signals also, and to have some sort of road sense. Similarly, knowing English or knowing Urdu just does not mean knowing the codes or knowing the words. It means how to use it on the road, use it on the go. And they say if the learners already know how to use their first language, why not actually use that complex knowledge to talk about the second language complexity in use of that knowledge?